Oh,
Hi friends, welcome to this week's episode of Dead Funny University. I am your host and fellow student Kelsey, and joining us for the 22nd semester in our Zelda semester. Wow, I'm so glad I got to use that twice in a sentence rather than grammatically changing the sentence to make it so I only had to say it once. Whatever, this is the intro. Chris, how you doing?
we're here. Doing good. Yeah, kind of sad that we're done with Majora's Mask. We've knocked out my two favorite Zelda games. Not that the other ones are trash, because they're not, but we've knocked out my two favorites. So, yeah.
So all the
Kinda be
episodes are just
moving on
going down here from here. We just don't care anymore.
Well-
We're going to do 30 minutes per game and be done.
I guess one of the things, especially that I want to point out before we do this episode too, or before we start diving into the next game, should I say, is like a lot of these other games, they don't, besides the newest one that they just did, Breath of the Wild, there's not like a huge story component to the temples like there were in the other ones.
Mhm.
So it's more of like just the task of like, go do the temple and get the object that you need and fucking come back. Like it just isn't, and Majora's Mask kind of lacked a little bit on that too, where Ocarina of Time really had it. But I mean, still, it's just like, it turned more into a grinding game in certain parts. And like, I mean, the stories were still great, don't get me wrong, but it was a lot more of like, we're moving into the new age instead of like, you know, having like a little bit of story told here, story told here. We'll like let you go do a shit ton of gameplay and then hit you with like a fucking 10-minute thematic type deal. So, you know, everybody tries to move with the times and sees what works. And it's not a fucking straightforward thought process there sometimes. So
You barely had a straightforward thought
I
process.
barely had one too. That's fair.
You got halfway
I will
through your
say that.
sentence, you had nowhere to go, and you're like, I think I know roughly where this was resolving.
It's been like that. I think I went kayaking last weekend, and I think I just fucking too much sun or something. I've been drained. I don't get it. Like, and it's not like I'm tired or like I'm physically tired, but my brain is just not there. I recorded a review show. You guys can go check it out on the channel about The Conjuring 3. The amount of edits I had to make in that fucking thing, and I still wasn't too happy with it because there's so many times where I felt like I was a new YouTuber where I'm like, like saying that many times and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, I hate myself right now. But
Man, maybe some
yeah,
carbon dioxide came out of that lake and just nuked your brain.
yeah, apparently that's what it was. That fucking volcano that's somewhere underneath the Channel Lakes in Wisconsin. Son of a bitch. Snuck up on me. Didn't even know it was there.
It's the sneaky ones.
That's the ones that'll get you, the silent killers. Anyways, but so yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm excited. It's just I feel like the ones that were like really story grabbing and like just hardcore amazing that kind of helped build the series were kind of pretty close to done with that. I think Wind Waker's got a really, really good story, but then we start getting into the more, and that's not the one we're moving into, but then we start getting a lot more into the handheld games, and that's what I guess I was more of what I mean is where it's a lot kind of like the Minish Cap. You know, I was really like here. Okay, cool. Now we're at the end of the game. So it is what it is. But you know, I love the Zelda series. So it's good. But yeah.
So what game are we headed into right now?
We are continuing down the child era of the Zelda timeline. The hero is successful. Remember, we had a after Ocarina of Time, all the way to the far left, we have our hero is defeated. Adult era. We have our hero is successful child era and our hero is successful adult era. So we are moving into the hero is successful child era right after Majora's Mask, which was the start of that era, is the Twilight Princess. This game came out on the Nintendo Wii and the GameCube, which was pretty cool because for people who hadn't upgraded yet, they still got to play the next Zelda. I played it on the Nintendo Wii, and it was pretty cool for once being able to actually feel a little bit more like I was in my hero's shoes with being able to do the sword slashes with the Wiimote and stuff. Cute. Obviously not to the fullest extent, but, you know, I looked like a fucking, you know, nerd just swinging his Wiimote around thinking I'm fucking Link. But, yeah, it is what it is. So...
You would have done it with more gusto if it had been Cloud, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%, Kelsey. Yes,
Oh,
100%.
the joy.
So, yeah, so Twilight Princess, like I said, we're gonna move on from Majora's Mask. So now we have Adult Link. We're moving on to Adult Link again, and we have to keep a couple things in mind here. We'll back up a little bit to Ocarina of Time. When we defeated Ganon, because we're in the hero successful era, when we defeated Ganon, we were set back 7 years to before any of that took place. So at this point in time, Link has actually never been to Hyrule. And it's important to point that out because that's kind of like the whole thing about this game is like it's Link's first visit to Hyrule, but we all know it's the Hero of Time's multiple return to Hyrule at this point. So, so yeah, we haven't been to Hyrule yet. And yeah, so we start basically in this. Oh, actually, I forgot to share with you the cover art for this game, which is pretty cool and also super fucking confusing because you don't know what it means yet. But Link's on there, so hey, right? Fuck it. But yeah, so like I said, we've got the Nintendo Wii and the GameCube is when this one came out, and they did a lot of good jobs, or they did a really good job with the controller. I'll give them that. There were a lot of, like, for instance, like the Navi Hey Listen, which Navi's not in this game, but the Navi Hey Listen, it was actually like the companion that is in this game would talk out of the remote, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
And give you like hints and shit like that. And then like all the noises and shit that Link would make as he was swinging his sword would also come out, like his actual voice, because once again, Link doesn't talk, but we have plenty of the you know, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, which is cool when you're the one swinging it. Like, that's got to feel better.
Right.
It's kind of like the way that actors add their own lightsaber noises, and the audio-visual guys are like, would you please stop doing that? We'll make it cool. And they're just like, boom, boom, boom.
Exactly.
Sorry, that cracks me up a little bit.
So, one of the interesting things that I love about this game, so this game was done really, really close to Ocarina of Time. Like they were easily trying to recapture Ocarina of Time in this game. Because once again, like I said, Ocarina is one of the very few games to ever get a 10 out of 10 score. Like very few.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to recapture that with this. The sad part is that is a reason why a lot of people hated this game. And I don't get that at all.
Oh,
I literally don't get that at all.
Does it feel too similar?
No, the story has nothing to do with each other. There's a lot of shit that's completely different. Like they're just like, it's too much like Ocarina of Time. I didn't feel that at all. Like Ocarina of Time was a lot about time travel and moving around with the music and shit like that. I think the only thing that was similar were the dungeons were in the same place, but once again, we're on the map of Hyrule. They're going to be in the same place. The map is the same. It has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Volcano, the lake, the forest, the sand. It's all in the same fucking spot. It never left.
And like, that's the whole point, is it didn't leave.
Correct. Exactly. So with that being said, and it's funny too, because I was watching this video where they were talking about different Zelda ratings, and they got onto this one, and I was watching it recently, and I was laughing my ass off because they're all like, this game is too close to Ocarina of Time. The dude's all like, that's great. It's awesome. This game is really close to one of the best games to ever grace gaming history. Great, let's play it. But instead, we're going to be like, fuck it, it's too close. It's like, I was laughing my ass off. I was like, all right, that's fair. Now, where I will shit on this game and give it its props, this game has...
How do you do both?
You're about to find out. This game has, in the exact same game, some of the best character artwork and some of the by far worst character artwork I've ever seen in my fucking life. It's bad.
Send me pictures.
So bad. I'm going to. As we're talking about this, I'm going to. So just for instance, this is our buddy Russell, who we'll learn a little bit later. His fucking face is like, bruh, what is that nonsense? First off, this is by far, I mean, I thought Rose from fucking Resident Evil was ugly. This is by far one of the ugliest babies I've ever seen in my fucking life. Oh my god.
Oh my. That baby's forehead holds the world.
Right? Right? That is our friend Mallow. But then they have badass motherfuckers like this awesome fucking Goron who looks like he's about to fuck shit up. And then
What happened to him?
they're fucking Zora. Look at her. Amazing.
She's hot.
Right? I never thought I'd fuck a fish person, but hey, you know?
Damn.
You know. And then just because I like to creep you out.
Oh,
That was also born in this game.
What the bejesus mother of apeness is that? What? God, that's gonna haunt me in my freaking nightmares. Oh my god, what is it? Why does it have so many nipples? I realize those aren't nipples. They look weirdly like nipples. What is that thing?
Oh, we will dive more into that when we get to it.
God,
but, yeah.
that face is so creepy. Oh my god, I have to scroll away. That makes me uncomfortable. Chris!
Oh, that's great. It's fantastic.
Why?
Because I can. Because I can. That's all there is. But what I will give this one props for is that there's a lot of Zelda games that have come after it who have tried to recreate the awesome Link that I love so much as far as like his suit and his get up, and a lot of them have fallen short of that. This one, they kind of took the original Ocarina of Time Link and tweaked it by adding chainmail underneath his tunic, and it didn't take too much away. So this is our hero in this game, and he looks amazing. Super okay with the way he looks.
Oh, thank you for sending 5. I just wish that they would have taken up the space where I couldn't see the chicken with nipples that's still hovering right there.
God, you still gotta see the chicken with nipples.
I don't like it. Okay, so... Okay, I can see the chainmail underneath his tunic, but you're right, it doesn't take anything away, and he looks a little bit... He looks a little grittier in a good way. Like...
They toned the white down in the leggings, or the undersuit.
Yeah.
They toned the white down because it was bright white, and then they kind of gave the boots and the arm guards and stuff like that their own feel with their own designs in them and stuff like that. It wasn't just like brown boots and wear them. So yeah, no, absolutely.
He looks really good.
He does.
Oh my god, and Epona looks wonderful. This picture, I'm assuming that's Epona?
Yep, it's Epona. Yep. Our trusty steed is here, as always. Yep. Epona is here. Love her. She's amazing.
I think I've asked, and I think you've told me, chicken with nipples. Sorry, I click off to make sure that it's hovering. Can you remind me, does Epona mean anything? Does that word mean anything?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
So, like I said, they gave us a really cool version of Link. I was super excited about that. This game, and as we go through it and you start to see more of like what the wolf is, what that means, and certain stuff like that, you will also be like, I don't really see why people thought this was like 100% like Ocarina of Time. So I will say this. Because this is very early on in the game, so this is not a spoiler. We do get the return of Ganondorf. So maybe that's where they're drawing it from. Not 100% sure, but we do get the return of Ganondorf. So, and that's because he's technically not dead, but sealed away in this timeline. So we get him back. But anyways, so we talked about some of the pictures. We talked about some of the artwork. Before we get into the very beginning of the game, I do think it's important to set up what the Twilight Realm is and give you a little bit of history on that. So that way, as we're going through and talking about the Twilight, you'll kind of be able to understand and go through it versus learning it all at the end of the game like we had to, which once again doesn't take anything away from the game because I'm not telling you any names. I'm not telling you any people. We're just discussing the realm itself.
Okay.
So we had the history of the Twilight Realm. So long ago, the people of the world were filled. The people of the world and the land knew many years of peace. I can't talk. Before long, however, I can't read either. Conflict began to arise in the sacred realm called Hyrule. People began to appear who were proficient in magic, and they attempted to control the sacred realm with their powers. The gods dispatched 4 light spirits who sealed the usurpers' magic into fused shadows. Then they banned the offenders to the Twilight Realm using the Mirror of Twilight, which we do have right here. 1 second. Knew I had that for a reason. So this is the Mirror of Twilight and the effect it makes when it goes to banish somebody into the realm.
Ooh.
And this is kind of one of the castles in the Twilight realm. I couldn't find like a good picture of the Twilight realm, but there's the Palace of Twilight. So that's kind of what the realm looks like.
Now, the picture
And,
that you sent that's labeled the Palace of Twilight, the whole thing's a little bit blurry for me. So I want to know, is that part of the aesthetic of the game, or is
like
that
the background
just
of it?
not just the background, but even the foreground where there's that lighter colored, I don't know, ground?
I think that's just the picture. That's
Okay,
just the
that's just the
picture.
picture. Okay, so it's not a
Yeah,
realm where
I
everything's
couldn't
slightly out.
find an actual picture of the Twilight realm,
Got it.
unfortunately. So this is all I could get. And then there's also little access points that sometimes happen on Hyrule where, like, you see them, they don't stay for long, and where you could gain access to the Twilight realm, which I thought was pretty cool looking.
Okay, so this game is simultaneously taking place in the Twilight Realm and Hyrule, and there are
Mhm.
these locations where you can pass in between the two of them.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Now, are any of the things that you're describing with 4 lights and all that jazz, does that relate to any of the rest of the lore that we have in Zelda?
Well, the no, because that's only 3. So yeah, no, none of these do. This is something kind of different because we've had 7 sages and we've
Yep.
had the 3 goddesses so far.
Yes.
So we haven't had anything else as far as with these dispatch 4 lights. So my guess would be the gods that dispatch the 4 lights could be referred to the goddesses, the 3, because there's never been an actual discussion about there being like an actual male god presence in the entire series of Zelda. It's always
Interesting.
been the 3 goddesses. So that right there would probably be the only connection that I could see. But yeah, that's kind of where that's at.
So we have 3 goddess stuff, we have 7 sages, and then we have the 4 of this other thing, which
Yep.
could be
The light
sent from
spirits. Yep.
gods. So
Yep.
that's still 3 and 4 still gets us to 7, so interesting. I can add, everybody, I'm an accountant, can you tell? Sorry. I was just
Wow. I didn't know you needed to be a fucking accountant to put 3 and 4
I
together to make 7.
know.
Jesus.
That's all you need, and that's what they give you a degree for. So if you go and you do that, the teachers will give
Real.
you a degree. It's great.
Okay, you're the dope. Okay.
All
You gotta
accounting
get
jobs, that's
all
all
the
you have to
notifications.
do.
But so yeah. Yeah, we banished the offenders to the Twilight realm using the Mirror of Twilight, so they would never be able to return to the light world. So we had the Twilight realm and the light world.
Light world
Those
is
who
Hyrule.
lived, correct. Those
Okay.
who lived in the Twilight came to be known as the Twilly.
That's
Like that.
adorable. That is one
Right? The
hella
Twilly.
cute name.
Twili, the Twilly.
God, it sounds like the name of a little gang of kids. Like, it's adorable. I love it.
Some people will say the Twilight. I feel like no, it's Twilly.
We're going
It's
with
not.
Twilly.
Once again, no voice actors in these games, so it's all what you think it is. That's why I was so scared about the remake of 7. I was like, I know I say shit wrong. I know I say shit wrong. I don't want to know that I say shit wrong. So, but so far I haven't. The only one was Mako. That one was a game changer for me, and I actually figured that out when they released the movie because they talk about it in the movie, obviously. And I called it Mako when I was a kid. So I'd say Mako all the time. And it was like, it's Mako. Okay, that's fine. That's an easy fix. But if I was like fucking Nibelheim, Gongaga, all this other shit, I'm like, man, I'm going to be fucked when this game comes out. Made me look like an ass. But anyway, so the people of the Twilight Realm is a beautiful place enveloped in the calm of a falling dusk. The inhabitants are gentle, pure-hearted creatures who will make their homes within the realm's radiance. The Twilly wield the power of magic, though its strength does not reach the levels possessed by those who were sealed away in ancient times. Members of the powerful royal family choose one from among themselves to inherit the position of leader. The The people of the Twilight lived in peace for many years, but there were those among them who felt that the light world were oppressing them. And then we're stopped there as far as reading that, because then we kind of get into some names, and I don't want to get there yet. But anyways, so kind of helps you understand the Twilight Realm just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit, so that way when we start talking about this, it's like, oh, they came from the Twilight Realm. It's like, okay, well, at least I know what the Twilight Realm is.
Yeah, so I got a question. Why would the Twilight Realm feel like the Light Realm were oppressing them? Like,
because
were
they
there
were
greater
banished.
connections? Oh, they were banished there. Okay.
You got to remember that. Yep, they were banished there because of the fear of their magical powers. So they were banished to that realm because they were viewed as usurpers. So the goddesses released the 4 light spirits who made that decision to then use the Twilight Mirror to banish them.
Okay.
Yep. And I think that
banishment. Yeah, fair.
And I think one of the main thoughts with the Twilly is that if they can get back to the light world, they'll be able to have stronger magic. That the ones that their magic has just been doling and doling and doling over the years and years and years of being locked away in the Twilight Realm. That if they were to get back to the light world, they would be closer to wherever they pull their magic from, and their magic would get stronger.
Okay. So they were banished because they were scary. They didn't love that, and now they're becoming weaker, which is scary for them in a different way.
Correct.
Because these people that already feared them and despised them sent them away, and now they're going to lose the only thing that they had. Okay. Yeah,
well,
that's scary.
I guess to be fair, to re-say it too, it did say that people began to appear who were proficient with magic, and they attempted to control the sacred realm with their powers for their own. So I guess it's not like they were completely innocent in the situation. But I do think that, for instance, if I'm a Twilly and this is before the Twilight Realm was created, and I've got these magic powers, and I'm just like a fucking farmer, just doing my own shit, but I get banished because I have magical powers. It's kind of a dick move, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of where that's at. Because if you think about it, when we look at people like Link and stuff like that, we've never had actual magic powers a single time in the series, besides possibly Zelda, I guess you could argue. But once again, she's of royal bloodline, so she's also the goddess incarnate as well. So a little different.
And are you saying that all of Ganondorf's stuff comes from like?
Oh, Ganondorf's stuff is magic, but I mean, he's a bad guy. Like he's already the bad guy.
We haven't had positive magical powers, is what you're saying.
We haven't had positive, like Link's not running around shooting fireballs out of his fucking hands and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. We're constantly having these like bombs and bows and boomerangs and shit like that. Like it's all normal.
How have we gotten this far into the discussion of this without ever saying, hey, the only times that we see expressions of magic, it's all in the hands of the bad guys being used to do controlling things, and the actions of the good guys that ultimately allow them to fight off the bad guys are totally ordinary actions?
I think because this is the first time in the series it was actually ever like laid out that way.
Huh.
Even for the gamers, like this was the first time that we actually had this whole like other species that did like all this magic shit. 'Cause, I mean, even to look at other species in the game, the Zoras, everything they do is totally dependent on the fact that their species and the way that their body is grown with fins and shit like that. Gorons, same way. Rudras, same way, which you haven't seen too many of them yet because the bird people like them later in the game series. But yeah, I mean, everybody's been like that. There's not a lot of magical users that I could think of. And whenever we have, like you said, Majora, magic, evil. Ganon, magic, evil. Fucking Decimus, magic, evil. Vati, magic, evil.
I was trying to think of Vati's name, yeah.
Yep. And then Ganondorf, magic, evil.
So, God, I feel like such a moron because one of the narratives of this is being magic, like being ordinary is actually one of the things that brings you closer to being good. It's being magic that gets you closer to being evil. I mean, that's not a narrative we hear a lot. We hear that you're a hero because you're special. You're a hero. And we even hear that here. Like, Link cannot be anyone. Link is a very specific person. He is the hero of time. But at the same time, Link is anyone. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. Yep.
And it is the unification of the leaders and the
Mhm.
ones who are led. In this case, we've got Zelda and Link. That defeats. There's a lot to unpack there that I have not thought about until this exact moment.
Right?
If you're a high schooler, this would be a great thing to write one of those, oh, just write about whatever you care about. Write about this right now in your English class.
I'm going to go ahead and argue with Kelsey on that one because I did that in middle school and I actually got an F for taking time out to write about a video game.
Okay, you also went to a school that spanked you. So
I mean,
don't
that's
do
fair.
this if you're in Alabama.
I feel like Texas.
Texas, excuse me, Texas.
I never went to school in Alabama, but Texas. I feel like now I'm never going to be able to have anything valid against that. Anytime I'm like, yeah, but it might, nope, they spanked you. Nope, they spanked you.
No, you went to a weird ass place where the genders were separated at lunch. They didn't do that at my private Catholic school. Like, nah, you have lost all credibility to be like, this is the way school is. Like, nah. You went to school in a weird ass backwards location, and I'm going to maintain that.
Yeah, we had to write an essay on things that were big to us and favorite kinds of hobbies. And I didn't write about playing video games, but it's kind of cool because it's one of those small times in your life where you feel like things kind of come full circle. So doing this DFU, I feel like things are kind of coming full circle because my essay was on the timeline and the origin of the Hero of Time. That's literally was the title of it, was something the Hero of Time. And so that's what the whole story was about, was the timeline of the Hero of Time and how it all chronologically made sense, like charting out all his adventures and Link becoming who he is, regardless whether it's the same person or not, that this was a role that had to be filled and it always had to be him, kind of like how you said, it always had to be him, but he could also still always be anyone type deal. So, and I was doing this whole essay on that, and basically, yeah, like I said, I failed.
And your dickhead teacher saw all of that, and rather than going, wow, this guy's really putting a lot of effort and thought into the backstory behind this and really caring about how this is being created, I'm going to give him an F because he didn't talk about playing the game, he just talked about the narrative.
No, they gave me an F because it was video game in general.
Oh, fuck
if I would have done
off.
about playing a video game, because once again, you got to remember, this is what I was talking about on that one podcast where we're talking about the whole like differences in playing video games now versus playing video games then. It was a waste of time. There was zero to be taken from a video game, zero knowledge, all this other shit. So now we've got esports and everything else these days. Like, people playing video games can actually make serious fucking money. For back then, it was like, you're just wasting your fucking time. Go outside.
Dear students, go write about a hobby that you care about. I'll get your essays when you're done. This kid wrote about a hobby that he cared about? F! Because I think it's a stupid hobby. Fuck that person.
100%
Screw them. God,
Yep.
What kind of asshole? Okay, I'm gonna stop. because I'm gonna get real pissed off, and that's not good. I'm gonna get momish on this, and you have a mom. You don't need me to be momish. And also, this was years ago. Fuck that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Fuck that.
But yeah. No, that was my essay, was on Link. So he was my hero at that point.
Asshole.
This was my favorite video game of all time because I hadn't really dove into the Final Fantasy series the way that I have as today. So, yep. Oh, well, is what it is. But yeah, so like I said, a lot of cool connections. I mean, whenever you start, like, just going through the series, it feels like you always learn something new that applies itself to the entire timeline. And I like that. Like, they always expand on the timeline. And it's even cooler that once we're done with this timeline, when we actually look at when it is in a timeline versus when it actually came out, like that takes some thought. It really does take some thought to make sure that this stuff doesn't destroy itself later when you're like, oh yeah, chronological order, this shows up here. And so like, that doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, no, they've got valid facts on everything making sense all the way through every single one of these. So
that's really cool.
Pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any more information for our first class on this particular subject?
You know what? I think we were going to kind of go into the first village and talk about the people, but I think we can save that. I think we kind of dove a lot into the Twilight territory and just talked about the game overall breakdown, and I think that's pretty good.
Okay, got it. Then that will do it for our 22nd class on Zelda, this one focusing on the beginning of the Twilight Princess game. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know when to come to class. Guys, really, that helps us. Also, the comments below, that is the most valuable thing you can do, is put any comment below saying, neat, How cool! I hadn't thought about that either. Chris's school was great. Don't put that. Chris didn't even think that. Our Twitter or our Twitch links are below. We also have a merch link down there. That's the other thing I almost forgot. We have a merch link down there. That's also super helpful. If you're interested, no pressure if you're not. Check it out at the very least. And we will see you in the next class of Dead Funny University. Bye, friends.